What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at some good news for the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's been a rough end to their season, right? Losing a couple straight to the Rangers, that definitely hurts. But to lighten the load a little bit, we know there's been some talk about a lot of guys leaving the organization, and between Malkin, Letang, even guys like Rodriguez, who have had really good seasons, Kasperi Kapanen. There is one guy that is staying. Now, the rumors have been out there since we knew Pittsburgh might not have the cap space to re-sign Bryan Rust. It's no coincidence that the connection was for Bryan Rust to play for the Detroit Red Wings. He's from Pontiac, Michigan. I mean, this was a perfect match. Totally fits the mold of what Steve Yzerman would want in Detroit. They had the salary cap space, but Ron Hextall and Ryan Burke, they said, no, we're going to keep this guy. Great signing for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Bryan Rust is one of those guys that it's hard to say because he's not the Jake Gensel, right? He's not the guy that's scoring you 30, 40 goals, scoring 4 goals in a game, right? Bryan Rust is that X factor that's not necessarily the goal-scoring guy. And that's why I think Bryan Rust is very valuable in the National Hockey League. The Penguins get him here at a contract that I think is really fair. I mean, a 6-year deal coming in at under $31 million, 30.75 to be exact. His cap hit per season will come up to $5.125 million. So a very lucrative contract, but nothing super crazy. This is all base salary, very Ron Hextall, Brian Burke-esque. No signing bonuses, straight up cap, which will make this easier to move, which I guess is the good thing. This is a really good hockey player. I mean, considering he's 30 years old, there's no real concerns about his game. He'll be 36 when that deal is over. But like I said, the Pontiac native was a 2010 third-round pick from the Penguins. He played at the University of Notre Dame for a couple of seasons, played with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. He played there for almost 60 games in the AHL level for 3 seasons, and inevitably has now had a 400-plus game career with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's been here for 2 of their 3 Stanley Cups here in the last 2 decades. Bryan Rust, just a really good example of a player that just really had to grind his way and work his way up the ladder. And he's now playing in the top 6 with guys like Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin for the past couple of seasons. I would say that's pretty good. You look at his numbers overall, they're not super sexy. I mean, he had 24 goals this season, 34 assists, but he did have 58 points, which is still pretty good. Again, considering he only played 60 games this season, so he was basically a point-per-game player. Not to mention last year, he put up 22 goals as well. Last year, almost 30 goals in a 55-game season the year before that. And, the one thing you could say, he has not played a full 82-game schedule in the NHL. He is a guy that does get injured, and I guess that's the one criticism you could say for Bryan Rust, is he's not there. He's not winning any Ironman trophies here anytime soon. He's not breaking any of those records because he's just not able to be in the lineup all the time. But when he is in the lineup, he's a huge part of your team, and I think this was a huge get for the Penguins to keep him around. This is a guy that, come playoff time, through thick and thin, Bryan Rust is the guy you want on the ice in the final 2 minutes of a Game 7, in the final 2 minutes of overtime. Bryan Rust is the guy you want out there because he just has all the intangibles offensively, but he also has the defensive side of the game down, and I think Bryan Rust is a perfect fit where he's at. Huge that the Penguins kept him because, like I said, this could be a crazy summer of turnover for the Penguins. Like I said, especially up front, you could be losing Kasperi Kapanen. You could be losing Rickard Rakell. You could be losing Gino. Those are 3 pretty good guys right there that could be just right out of your lineup. Danton Heinen, depending on what they do with him. So you're looking at a lot of talent leaving, but again, you keep a guy like Bryan Rust, He can kill penalties. He can play on the power play. You could use him all over. He's a Swiss Army knife. He's a utility knife, and the Penguins have a good one here. Great contract, too. It might look bad in, say, year 5 and 6. Again, when you're talking about a guy that's in his mid to late 30s at that point, 35, 36. Again, he's already had injury issues. So that's the one concern I would have for Bryan Rust. But other than that, I think the Penguins did a good job here. Question is, though, how does this keep the window open for the Penguins? I don't necessarily know. I think a lot of that's going to come down to what happens with Letang and Malkin. There is still 3 years left on Sid's contract, so I do think the Penguins do want to go for it here for another 3 seasons. So whatever happens with Gino and whatever happens with Letang, I do think the Penguins want to go for it again. Again, we've also heard a lot of rumors recently about Marc-Andre Fleury. So in terms of the future, the Penguins made this move bringing back Bryan Rust. But don't be surprised if we hear about, say, a Rickard Rakell returning or, seeing some of those guys return, hopefully before the beginning of free agency. And, like I said, good job by the Penguins. So, guys, let me know what you think of this contract down below. What do you think of Bryan Rust? 6 years, a little under $31 million over those 6 years. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.